have I come across people who are born in a country and really don't know much about their roots? Yes. Do I think that's the best way to live your life? I don't think so, but I'm also not judging you. If you are born and raised in a country, you're from that country. Rapper, musician, an Italian, a black Italian rapper, released a song called Lettera di un Afro Italian. So his name is Gils Yaffa. And in this song, as reported by a blog called Estranero, Gils Yaffa basically says, he criticizes Afro Italians and advises seeking respect rather than the love of Italian society. Accompanying me in this conversation, which I'm very excited about. Thank you very much for being here. Hi guys. Thank you very much for tuning in into another episode of Gist with Sherry. And here with me today, I have Mima Amanfo. Accompanying me in this conversation, which I'm very excited about. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me to this conversation.
I'm just so eager to talk about it. So this rapper, musician, an Italian, a black Italian rapper, released a song called Lettera di un Afro Italian. So his name is Gils Yaffa. And in this song, as reported by a blog called Estranero, Gils Yaffa basically says, he criticizes Afro Italians and advises seeking respect rather than the love of Italian society. He emphasizes that the presence of Afro descendants in the West is due to the exploitation of their homelands. Yaffa addresses issues such as skin lightening and the use of wigs, encouraging the appreciation of Afro hair and the remembrance of oppressed ancestors. He recalls victims of racist violence and urges the Afro-descendant community to awaken, become aware of their roots, and fight for respect and dignity. Gils calls attention to a collective awakening, inviting the Afro-descendant community to become aware of their roots and to fight for respect and dignity. What do you think? Do you agree with him? An Afro-descendant basically is someone who was born and raised in Italy and is of African descent. Just like in every other part of the world, usually when you're born in a place or born and raised in a place, you are legally considered a citizen, but also you are from that place, obviously culture-wise, and in just that's the country that raised you. And of course, when you are from African descent, you're considered an Afro-Italian in this case, or an Afro, depending on where you were born. And if I understand correctly, his main point of criticism is basically, as an Afro-descendant, you should identify with your roots and not try to be assimilated and immersed in the Italian culture and society or whatever it is that he means. I disagree. I disagree because I think you're both. You are both. And I think if you are born and raised in a country, you're from that country, but you're also from the country that your roots are from. You're both. And you don't have to choose either or. Now, have I come across people who are born in a country and really don't know much about their roots? Yes. Do I think that's the best way to live your life? I don't think so, but I'm also not judging you. I wouldn't choose to do that. I wouldn't advise someone to do that. I wouldn't want my kids in the future to do that. I think your roots are very important. They are a part of your identity, but so is where you are born and raised. That's the first thing I'll say, and I'll let you speak your mind on that as well. And I definitely have other things to say, especially about the comments about the wigs. But I'll let you go. What do you think about it, Mima?
I think that it's impossible for someone to only identify in one nationality when you are born and raised in a different country.
Yeah.
Because your parents bring out their culture, but you're even growing inside another culture.
Yeah.
So you're assimilating both the cultures, and both of them makes you the person you are.
100%.
So you separating them is like you separating yourself, because you're only showing a part of yourself to the people in front of you if you feel only African or you feel only European or American, depending from where you're born. Because if you show only your African parts, it's like you're hiding your Italian parts. If you show only your Italian parts, you're hiding your African parts. So he's probably coming from a self-hatred position of himself, where we try to identify as a completely white, didn't go and now completely identify as a black African only. But the issue is that when you're going to Africa, they're never gonna see you as only an African. They're gonna see you as an African European themselves. Because when you go to Africa and a white man is raised there and born there, they will tell you, no, that man is a Nigerian white and Kenyan white. Because I see it a lot of times when they have like white people speaking our languages, the African people will come and tell you, no, that person is born and raised there. It's typical of this place.
Yes, exactly.
Because the nationalism stops and starts at being raised and born in the country. The moment you're born and raised like in Nigeria, Nigerian people will protect you as a Nigerian, even if you're white, of the whitest.
Yep.
In Europe, the thing is starting, they still have like racism, and I can understand that he feels like a lot of us are losing our African roots to try to integrate. But in that case, at times it's the fault of the family.
True, that's very true.
So sometimes some families don't want you to speak the language, don't want you to act in a certain way. But if me and you go to Nigeria, even if I have a Nigerian passport, they will tell you, yes, but you are born in abroad, it's different. If I go to Europe, they'll look at me and say, yes, but you're black.
Yeah.
So if you are like, let me be only one, let me be only this, you're not going to be happy, because none of them accept us completely. The only people accepting us completely is other Afro Italians.
True.
Or other Afro Europeans. They're the only ones accepting us completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying it because it's a little bit different being Afro-European than being Afro-Asian or Afro-South American or Afro-American. It's different.
Yeah, it's different.
So the guy is a little bit too extremist.
Yeah.
Almost going in the xenophobia area, because it's like trying to say, no, you don't have to feel European, nothing like colonialism and this and that. It's true. We had that past. And the past we are in Europe now. Let us use what our parents give us the opportunity to be able to use to create our own futures. Because if we just say that, colonial is there, colonial is here, at the end of the day, what is it going to help you?
Exactly.
It's not going to help you. So you have to go past the self-hatred you have against them, against us, and go forward and use what you have. Because at the end of the day, you're in Europe. And even the guy, if you are talking about Afro Italians, why is he not going back to Nigeria and think about it there?
I think he's Italian Congolese, not Italian Nigerian, but yeah, I get your point.
No, I didn't say let him go back to Nigeria, because some people will be like, if you don't want to completely integrate, because integration doesn't mean eradicate completely your culture.
Yes, exactly.
Integration means you assimilate another culture and add your own and live together with it.
Mm-hmm.
That is what integrate. Integrate doesn't mean eliminate what you already are. It's to add new thing. So living with what you have already, your cultural background, and living with their laws, because you're in a different country, so you live with their own laws, but always holding your cultural background.
This point that you made is quite interesting, because usually when you're born and raised in a place, it comes natural to integrate, because that's kind of all you know. And even though you know some aspects of your culture from, your roots and where you are from in terms of where your parents are from, of course, automatically you are a part of the culture you're born in. However, when people are immigrants, that usually takes more of like a process. And why I'm actually going a little bit off topic, but still on topic, and talking about immigrants and being able to integrate into societies, because I recently read in a book that the Prime Minister in Italy said that Africans struggle with assimilating and integrating in Italy. My jaw dropped when I read it because I really didn't know that assimilation had anything to do with the color of one's skin. Because if you believe that immigrants from other parts of Europe, she quoted Moldova, for example, that immigrants from Moldova integrate fine, but African ones don't. Like, what do you use in distinguishing those that are able to integrate? Is it the color of your skin or what? I mean, you live in Italy, especially under Giorgia Meloni's government. So I really wanted to ask, number one, what do you think of the statement she made? And number two, what is the current situation with Afro Italians in Italy and also for immigrants, African immigrants in Italy?
So with the statement she said, I wouldn't apply it to the people that are coming now.
Okay.
But as my personal experience, and I think even yours, there are people that have been in Italy for 20 years, 30 years, and still don't speak and write the language. And after 20, 30 years, for Moldovan people, it's easier to speak because their language is similar to Italian. So for them to speak Italian is like automatic because their language is very similar. They probably don't even know how to write the language, but they can speak it because it's very similar.
Okay.
It's a little bit like a French person coming to Italy. He doesn't have the same problem because French is very similar to Italian, so it's going to be very easy for him to speak the language. But from what I've seen, it's not something only of like the Nigerian African people. It's even in the Asian people, this problem that probably because the ones that come in those days, they're only thinking about working. They didn't take their time to study the language, and then they became too old to learn the language well. So there are some of them that after being here for 30 years, and if you think about it, it's not really good, they don't speak the language at all.
Is that not more of the minority? Majority of those...
I can say that is the majority. It's not really the minority because even other like second or third generation children speaking on the social network, they always say about the fact that their parents don't speak the language. And maybe it's something more to the fathers because at the end of the day, the mothers have to learn the language because they're learning it through helping their children with the homework since they're small. So it's maybe a data that is very relative to male. Because from what I've seen from my experience, mothers and female tend to learn the language, especially when they have children, because at the end of the day, your child is coming back home from elementary one. And while you are trying to help your child to do his homework, you're learning small. That is how many of our mothers learned. Then fathers only work in fabrica or in companies. So most of the time, the only words they know is something that is connected to their job. And while I was trying to help in the social for people to learn Italian language, I was talking with the Italian volunteers that were teaching Nigerian people to learn the language. And they were saying that it was a fight for them to make males to come and learn the language. They say that when the female come, they're always ready to come to learn the language because they give them free courses to come and learn Italian language. Because so it's easier for them to integrate and do higher jobs. Some of them even go and start university after they start learning the basic of the language. Because in these days, I'm always proud when I hear about all these boys and girls that come through C, and when they see that you're smart, because they have social workers that are really kind of hard. When they see that you're smart, they put them through university.
I didn't know that they used to put some of them through university.
Yes, they put them through university. If they see you're smart and you want to learn, they put you through university with you not paying. They will help you because they will always find some families that will adopt you to help you. Because even in my church, they were having families adopting children and helping them to study. I think they see this from you want to learn the language. They see the efforts and they'll ask you, would you like to study? Because they have English courses, but it's easier for them to make you to enter an Italian course. But for you to enter an Italian course and take your degree, you have to learn the language a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's a struggle for immigrants from countries whose languages are very different from the Italian language to, of course, learn it. But I've also seen it happen many times. Like, it's not like it's something that immigrants don't learn. So I think I wouldn't apply it I wouldn't generalize it. I think we have a lot of immigrants in Italy who do learn the language and who do enter the workforce, who go to college, who go to university, and integrate. So I think it's just,
Do you know what is the funny thing? Most of the immigrants that I saw that they're not born here, that came here at an older age and studied, they're French country speaking.
okay.
And so it was easier for them to learn Italian language
Okay.
and to enter university. Because I saw a lot of, even when you see black doctors, they're French country speaking, most of them. When you see a black person, immigrant, that took a degree, because they put them on the newspapers, they're French country speaking, Italy, because it's easier for them to switch from French to Italian.
I see. Going back to Afro descendants, though, at least in that case, there's no argument that they're very much a part of the culture. Of course, they were born, they were raised there and all that. Do you feel like now the Italian society has gotten a little bit better than years before in understanding that Afro Italians are Italians, that Asian Italians are Italians, that
I can say
Italian
yes,
doesn't mean
because
being a white Italian? Okay, go ahead.
I can say that now it's better because now you can see black doctors, black police, black people in the army, black people working on the train. I saw an Asian girl working in the bank, you know. So you're seeing them in high-paid jobs. But I will say that a problem of why we don't see a lot of us in high-paid jobs is because our passport is very powerful. So after they take the citizenship with a degree, knowing that the possibility of facing racism in Italy is high,
Yeah.
a lot of us decide to immigrate.
Yeah.
Most of them don't immigrate to university because a good thing about Italian university is that Italian university, if you don't have money, is cheap. It's like going to be as cheap as €100 a year.
Yeah.
And if you're smart enough, they will give you money to study. Like they will give you between 3,000 to 6,000 every year to study that you don't have to give back. So if they know that it's easier for them to immigrate to a different country around the world with their degree and their passport together.
Yeah.
So a lot of us are not in high-paid jobs. They are not only because we are blacks. It's because we're not here to work. We take ourselves abroad immediately.
Isn't that why a country like America is the greatest country in the world? Because they have been able to take people in, make use of their talents, their gifts, whatever. If you're ready to work, if you're ready to put in the effort, you can really be whatever you want, here in America. So for me, it's like, isn't Italy losing out in letting all their black citizens basically leave once they study? Sometimes they leave before studying and just go and study somewhere else because they don't want to stay in Italy and face the racism that is going on there. And when are they going to wake up to this reality?
The issue is that they themselves don't even hold their own young people to work in Italy because Italy has a big problem of wages.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
So most of the times, it's not only because of racism, it's because they know that they have greener fields outside. And they use the fact that when we were us being immigrants, most of the time we know more languages. Nigerians know English, Senegalese people know French, Chinese people know Chinese. So the most of the time they use these extra languages, and that is how our second route come in help of us.
Yeah.
To migrate easily to other countries where the wages are higher. Like let us put, for example, nursing.
Yeah, nursing. Yeah.
A lot of people study nursing in Italy. It's difficult to hear that someone went and that wanted to become a nurse, went abroad to study the nursing.
Yeah.
They study nursing in Italy because Italian nurses are very, very requested. And they take them immediately after they take their degree. They don't even have to be looking around to go abroad. They ask for them. They literally put around this university contacts. So the moment they see it, they just come contacts, go abroad. The thing is that when we want to look at the workforce, why they're losing, this is the problem of Italy. Yes, they're losing their foreign workforce because of racism. They're using their own white Italians workforce because of poor wages.
Yeah.
So a lot of them going to US, a lot of Italians in US.
Yeah, I know.
Doing like working in high fields, doing researches, winning, and Italian is claiming, oh my God, it's Italian. Yes, but they couldn't do that in Italy because there were no money. Italian people go to America to open startups.
Yeah.
Because in Italy, they couldn't find anyone to invest in. So when we talk about working field, at times it's not just racism that makes us to run away. It's even the poor wages. So am I going to suffer racism and even be paid pay small money? No, better go abroad.
I know, right? If
I suffer racism abroad, they're paying me well.
I know. For sure, that makes sense. I wanted to ask you, I feel like anybody who is born abroad, I'm going to specify Italy, right? But just generally, if you are from Africa, Asia, wherever you're in a different country, at a certain point, you're going to face a sort of identity crisis, which I think is similar to what this singer is facing. What would you say is the best way to find your identity when you're facing that identity crisis?
For me, it's difficult to answer this question.
Yeah.
Because I've never faced it. Because when they were asking me what nationality you are, I was always saying I'm a child of the world. Because I've always been curious about the world.
Yeah.
So when they were asking me where you from all these things, I was like, girl, I'm a child of the world. So I've never felt like I feel only Italian, I feel only Nigerian. I've always felt both and more.
Yeah.
So for me to answer this question is difficult because I don't know what they feel.
I think if you're someone who is not acquainted with your African roots, and as a result of that, you struggle with identity crisis, I would encourage you to get acquainted with your roots. And that doesn't take away from you being anything else. It just makes you understand yourself better.
I understand what you're saying, because at times I see that the people that have that crisis are people that have only like white friends, usually. Like I've always had both black friends and white friends. So maybe that is why I didn't have these crises, because I was immersed in both my nationalities, both my Nigerian nationality and my Italian nationality. Because I was having my Nigerian, Ghanaian, French country speaking friends, and I was having my Italian friends. And most of the time they were even mixed together.
Yeah.
So that was easier for me to feel both of them and feel like Afro Italian. But if you have only Italian friends, and maybe at home you don't speak much about your roots, I think that is very typical of adopted children.
Oh yeah, they struggle a lot.
They have this kind of identity crisis. The children they adopted from Africa.
Yeah.
At times the parents try. I saw some people that the parents were trying to bring the African roots, taking them to black churches, taking them to meet other Africans. But at times, if the parents don't do any effort, they are grown by white people. So obviously they feel white. They don't know the black part of them.
They feel white, but they're not white.
But they're not white.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Yes.
You don't want to do that for sure.
It's like when you buy this mixed race, if he doesn't take both of his races, you will never feel complete, because it's never going to be completely white, but it's never going to be completely black or Asian, because it's both of them. And until he doesn't understand that, he's going to suffer.
Okay. Yeah.
Because even if you fight, and you as a mixed try to look as white as possible, they know you're not white.
Yeah.
Even if you fight as much as you want to be black, the black know that you're not black. So you have to accept that you're both of them, and you're going to face racism from both. And you have to just go forward and feel yourself. Because I want to be eating my jollof rice with lasagna, and I don't want no one to be discussing it and say, why am I doing it?
I know, right? I mean, I love both too, jollof rice and lasagna. I'm the same way.
Understand?
Yeah.
I like to eat my pizza, and maybe in the night I will eat my fufu. Even our parents, they can talk how much they want, But yeah, even when they feel that they're not integrated, they understand that they have integrated when they go back to their country.
They feel very like a fish out of water sometimes when they go back.
Yeah,
Like,
they feel like when they are in Europe,
different.
they are black, and that they didn't mix inside. They didn't take manners, they didn't take mentality, they didn't take nothing. Until they go back to their country, not only Africans, Asians, South American, they go back to their country. Even this Eastern Bloc, they go back to their country. And they come back and they tell you, I don't know what to feel. I wasn't feeling like how I was feeling before. Because people think that integration means to look like them. No, you're still yourself, but you're living with their laws. And maybe you take some mannerisms, some things they do, and you don't even notice it because they're small things. You have integrated them inside you. And you understand them only when you go back and see what you thought you are, but you're not again.
That's very true. That's very
like me. I'm Afro Italian. I'll go to Australia or go to US. The moment I go back to Italy, I know that I'm not going to be the same again. Because I've probably integrated some of their ways into me and make it mine.
It's very,
So at the end of the day, I won't, especially maybe I settle there and I have my children there. My children will learn my Italian culture, my Nigerian culture, because obviously I bring both to them. And they will learn even the American, Australian, English, Polish, French culture. Because Europe, they have different cultures, like even from north to south, it's different.
Yeah.
And they won't be feeling completely in of the three. Because they're all of the three together. That is why when people ask me about what are you? In this world of cosmopolitan, the way everybody can go everywhere, we cannot identify again as one person.
Yeah.
Because imagine people working in Europe, in US, in Africa, they move from one to one to one. Cannot, when they grow here, they're not the same person. You cannot, if you say you're Nigerian, okay, go to Nigeria, but you will not act completely like Nigerian. Okay, go to Europe, you're not going to act completely as Europe. Go to Asia, you're not going to completely act like Asian.
You're right. I mean, it makes total sense. And
so if you want to identify as one and try to act only as that one, you're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to do that. But I also think that's one of the reasons why I think representation is important. Something that I appreciate a lot about the US is they have understood the importance of representation. So in movies and TV shows, in the government now, I mean, we have a Black vice president. In different places, you see people that look like you. And I'm not saying that the US is perfect, but at least I can give them that. They're really making an effort when it comes to representation. I do feel like in Italy, that's still lacking. I mean, I put on...
I think that's now. Because you have to think about that the first group of immigrants that come to Italy come in the 70s, 80s. The one that were not from their ex-colonies.
Our parents, basically. Our parents' generation.
So the second generation that is in the age of, let us take power, is coming now. Because if their parents better them in the 80s, they'll be now maybe in their 40s. So they are now coming in power. Like in Napoli, the councillor for the Lawyers Association is a Black man. He's a Black lawyer. I see that Black people started doing politics now more than, not only Black people, even Asians, foreigners. Foreigners have started doing politics now. Even during this last election, I voted for foreigners.
Yeah.
For European seats, we voted for foreigners. If all us foreigners vote for foreigners, foreigners will go, they will go. But let us think about it. Some foreigners have self-hatred and will not vote for foreigners.
And when you say foreigners, you're referring to Black Italians, just to be specific.
Not Black Italian, Arab Italians, Asian Italians. That is what I mean as foreigners.
So basically, Italians,
non-white Italians. Let us call them non-white Italians. Foreigners is even a good word. Non-white Italians. Because even for you to become a candidate, you have to be Italian. So they're non-white Italians.
No, we still need... Because I mean, I'm looking at the government, Giorgia Meloni's government. I'm only seeing white people. Like, with all due respect, we have so many Italians now. We have Asian Italians, we have Arab,
Black.
we have
You know
black.
that black are with the racist parties.
That's a good point.
Unfortunately, we have some black people in the parliament with the racist party that hates black.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It looked like they wanted to insult us in a somehow. They have foreigners in the parliament now, both black and white, and both Asian and Africans in the parliament. They have them now. In the television, they have black people representing us, like Leyene. Now, one of the presentators of Leyene is a black guy that came as an immigrant and learned the language.
Interesting. I didn't know that. And that's a big show.
The boy came here as an immigrant and from a French country speaking language. He's married to a white girl, yes, but he came here like maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago. He came here and he was working in Fabrica, and he wanted to become a comedian. So he was doing stand-up comedy. He became viral during COVID, and now he's working as presentatore delle Iene, and he's doing stand-up comedian around theaters in Italy.
I mean, that's good. I actually didn't know of him, but again, I think we need more representation. It's a good start, but we need more.
They have them even in dating shows. I don't
like the token black person though. Like, when you want representation, like, make it equal. Like, don't just put one token black person, one token Asian person to fulfill all righteousness. I mean,
I don't know if I can say this.
Who was that?
But, I don't know if you're gonna cut it. But
let's see.
There's a problem in Italian television star system. That most of the times to raise up, especially as a woman or a man, because this guy was lucky because he was in comedy. You have to sleep with people.
That's controversial.
It's a well-known thing. Either you have a famous husband, so they put you because your husband is famous, or people know that you sleep with people. Either you merchandise yourself and show your body off. So maybe because, we are more, how can I say, modest. We wouldn't want our family to be ashamed of us. It's difficult. Like that, there's a black girl that now they're showing around much. And she started with X on the beach.
I think I know who you're talking about.
You already know what kind of program is that. So she was there talking about her sleeping around, nakedness, and all these things. African people wouldn't accept that easily.
Yeah.
So even her, she just threw herself under that. Maybe her family accepted it, but some family would have even said, okay, go your separate ways. Because then that is how from there she went to do Isola del Famosi. So she's starting to rise up in the team to become a TV spoken person. But she had to start by talking about how sleeping around with other famous people.
Yeah, and also we really don't know what is true and what isn't. There are always a lot of rumors surrounding famous.
No, she had to actually put like X, she snapped, that is your ex.
Yeah.
And the ex they were talking about is people that do Woman and Done, that is like a dating program in Italy. So she had to talk about people she slept with and had a relationship with. And that is even a double thing because she's even Muslim, so she's supposed to be even more modest.
Okay, just pivoting a little bit to another aspect of representation in the beauty industry. So I'm a lover of makeup. Anyone that knows me knows that. And we have really gotten to a really good point, I think, when it comes to representation in makeup and just beauty overall, I would say here in the US. Could it still be better? Of course, there's always room for improvement. But now, unlike years ago, you can find your shade of foundation. You can find eyeshadow palettes that look good on dark skin tones and so many other things. I remember buying makeup in Italy, going to buy, I think that time what I bought was like a Kiko Milano. And struggled to find something as a tan that was really, really good on my skin tone. And I think they were even one of the, maybe I would say more brands that had a little bit of more diversity in their makeup compared to some other Italian brands, but still it looked ashy on black skin. I don't know so many of the Italian makeup brands. Like I usually don't even bother trying to use them because I assume that they don't have a lot of makeup products for my skin type. But I did want to ask, is there improvement in that, or they need to do that?
Because all of them, I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing, but all of the Italian brands now want to be woke. That's how American people will say they want to be woke. No one wants to be called out for not being inclusive. Most of the Italian makeup brands, like Italian ones, most of them don't have store. They have, but not in small cities. Like Clio Makeup.
Yes, she had some controversy, Clear Makeup, right?
Yes, but the controversy was she had like an issue with Grace on Your Dash.
Okay.
But not for racism, for other things, like a beef about review of some products.
Oh, I see.
Because at the end of the day, she called her daughter Grace. Cleo's first daughter's name is Grace.
Okay.
At the end of the day, Cleo's brand has, like, now Grace actually says that some of the products of Cleo is her favorite. Like Cleo has like foundation and concealer for dark skin.
Okay.
And a lot of makeup brands like Mezauda, all these makeup brands that come out now from makeup artists, because the makeup brands that come out in Italy now are from makeup artists, have dark skin shades.
Okay.
But the issue is that most of these makeup brands are made from makeup artists that they are, you know, they are like indie brands. So most of the times you don't find them you find them online, or you find them in the big cities.
Are you saying that the big makeup brands are not as inclusive as the smaller ones that you find online?
These big makeup brands like Kiko or Wycon, they have dark shades. Like if you go to Sephora, you're gonna find dark skin brands with dark skin colors. Or you should go to MAC. But maybe drugstore makeup like Maybelline, at times it's difficult to find dark skin shades.
But that means that the store doesn't want to carry them because Maybelline has a lot of dark tones.
I think it's not only a question of store, as even a question of what they give them they can choose from. Because like I discovered that Essence has a line of foundation they only sell in Africa.
That's weird.
For very, very dark skin. Because I was looking for Essence products on YouTube to see the shades, and that shades were not even in their international site. Because they created them for Africans, for very dark skins in Africa.
Interesting.
At times they do that. It's a question of marketing, you know. So when they give them the catalog where they have to choose the colors from, they probably don't put even the dark skin ones there because they're probably, how many am I going to sell? Look, even when black people want to buy foundation, they want to buy high end most of the times because no one want to see you with a Kiko foundation.
It is not.
For me, it gives me skin reaction.
I see.
That is why I don't use Kiko.
Let me ask you this, right? For a lot of young blacks in Italy, are we seeing a lot of interracial relationships, or it's more of like Black Italians with Black Italians? So the reason I'm asking this is like, I really want to know, one, how is it seen over there in terms of interracial relationships? Is it something that's become very common, accepted, and not frowned upon? And do Afro descendants tend to kind of date each other? I don't know. I just kind of out of curiosity. I wonder how.
I think that depends from the content.
Okay.
It, like French, like Muslim people tend to marry their own. Like Albanians, Senegalese, Cote d'Ivoire, the Cameroonians, they tend to marry their own. Even Indians and Chinese. But I've started to see a lot of interracial marriage, especially between the younger ones. You study together, you go to university together, then you work together. So love happens. It always, in this case, it always depends from how much the family integrated.
Okay.
Because as much as you can love to marry a foreigner, but you love your family and your family says no, most of the time at the end you decide to settle.
Mm-hmm.
And like recently, there's been a very famous marriage between this Moroccan guy and Italian girl. They're very famous in social network in Italy. They have like more than 1 million followers.
Okay.
And it was very beautiful. They put both they did the Muslim marriage.
Beautiful.
And then they did the white marriage, obviously not in church because it's Muslim, but they did it in with the mayor. And they, even in their marriage, they try to integrate both of their cultures, the Italian one and the Moroccan one. And the family of the Moroccan guy was so happy that he married her because they said that the girl is a very good girl. That she's trying to cook their food, she's trying to integrate in their custom without losing herself. Not that she started covering her head or all these things. And I'm seeing more and more mixed couples. Maybe not as much as UK and France. Mm-hmm. But Italy, especially in the north, they have a lot of mixed couples.
Interesting. That's interesting to hear. And I mean, it's nice. It's nice that the cultures are blending and integrating and finding love in different cultures, and that's definitely a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, overall, based on everything you said, and also kind of like my own perspective, we both agree that being an Afro-descendant Italian basically means you're Italian and you're also African. And you don't have to choose one, you're both. And just like you said, now more than ever, the world is a really small place. Like you see people moving and going from living in France to living in London and vice versa, and just all over the world. People keep on moving. People just decide to go on vacations. Like a lot of cultures are just kind of blending into each other. Mm-hmm. And in a time as like today, one shouldn't have to be just one thing. And if you do have an identity crisis, if you do feel like you're not fully accepted in any one of your cultures, then just know that it's really not about others, it's about you. It's about what you feel and what you know. And what you are is an African Italian. And more specifically, if you're a Nigerian, you're a Nigerian Italian. If you're a Congolese, you're a Congolese Italian. And if you choose not to acquaint yourself with your roots, because maybe the way you grew up, you didn't learn so much about them, you didn't visit Africa that much, I hope that as an adult you decide to do it for yourself, but I also don't judge if you don't. But I do think it's important and it makes you understand yourself even better.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming on today's episode. And definitely you're going to come on more, I hope. We have so many more things to talk about. So I'm very excited to talk about all those other stuff with you in future episodes. And to all the listeners and viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. As usual, love and blessings and joy and light to you. Thank you.